Well, I shaved my head, but I'm not Mr. Clean. Or am I? No, definitely not. I'm just a little domesticated today because I can't be outside. There's dramatic, crazy weather today. So, of course, when I want to film on a Sunday, that isn't going to happen. But I have been meaning to do this review on the Stud Ultrapod by Doug at Stud. He does the Stud Mag Loader system, the high capacity magazine, as well as the FX replacement magazine. All those products are absolutely brilliant, and I expected nothing less from this, the Ultrapod. And he offered to send this to me just to check out and review, and I gladly accepted because he's my friend, and I know he makes good stuff. And guess what? It came in, and this thing is phenomenal. And I have beside me a BRK Ghost. This Ghost is probably one of my top seller guns on atlasairguns.com. So if you're in the market for an air gun, make sure to go there. But yeah, the BRK Ghost, brilliant gun, top seller, definitely a bench gun. A lot of people love using it at the bench. Obviously, if you've seen the reporting I did at Extreme Bench Rest, a lot of people had that gun on the bench. And so why I have this gun on this table right now is because the Ultrapod is a device to be used in the back of a rifle, specifically the butt of the rifle, and it is a replacement for what would commonly be referred to as a squeeze bag or a bean bag, whatever you want to call it. Those are typically on the back of a rifle, and you have a good bipod in the front like an AccuTac, and that gives you the stability that you need to do well at the bench. Well, rather than having a bunch of sandbags with you or squeeze bags or whatever you want to call it, this Ultrapod is a nice bit of kit because you can throw it in a range bag. It's very light, it's very small, and most importantly, it's really effective at what it does. Now, what does it do? It is a 2-axis motion Ultrapod, and what that means is that it gives you Y and X axis motion. This red area in the middle here controls your y-axis, your elevation, and it will give you a lot of range of elevation, and that is really, really neat. And on the top here, you have this spindle mechanism as well as the seat for the butt of the rifle, and the butt of the rifle just sits right there, and it's imperative that you keep the center of that butt centered on this top plate here in between these two spacers. Now, when you have the butt of the rifle centered there, this spindle mechanism that you see around here, this gives you the ability to adjust your x-axis, that's your windage. So when you're adjusting your windage, you can align these two arrows and it will give you the greatest amount of motion or adjustment for your windage. And if you move to one side like that, or to the other side like that, you'll get far less adjustment, but finer adjustment. And that's kind of imperative if you're shooting out to greater distances. Now, where should the Ultrapod be used and where should it not be used? It should be used up to 100 yards. It should not be used at 400 yards, 1,000 yards, anything like that. This is not meant for that. This is meant for air gunners. Most air gunners shoot up to 100 yards. So if you're doing bench shooting, 50 yards, 100 yards, this is a really, really cool accessory. And not only that, it's really affordable. Additionally, it has some bubble level there, as well as some leveling rods on the side here, one on each corner, so there's 3 total. That's so that if you're at a bench that's not perfectly level, you can do some fine adjustment and level it out a little more. Now, that being said, I would highly encourage that you find a good, sturdy, strong tabletop or surface of some kind, concrete bench, rather than something flimsy. About a month and a half ago, I was running this, the first time I got it, on top of a Cadwell pop-up bench, and it was horrible because the plastic was just not sturdy and everything was moving around. So this is not designed to be on something that's like that. It's meant to be on a sturdy bench. And if you have a sturdy bench like at a range that's made out of concrete, this Ultrapod is going to be an awesome accessory. So what else is included with this kit? It has a 38 millimeter lift, as you can see here, and it has 2 spacers. Now these 2 spacers are pretty important because on one side there is a 2 millimeter. On the other side there is a 1 millimeter. And if you were to look on the bottom of this, you actually see that one side is thicker than the other. These are spacers that go on this top. So for example, if I put this 38 millimeter lift on here and I put the BRK Ghost butt on the back of this, I'll notice that there's a great amount of play here. That's not something we want. So these spacers are designed to put on, and you can actually put 2 on one side and 1 on the other. So there's 2 on this one and 1 on the other facing inward. And that gives me 3 millimeters reduction on the total diameter between these 2 pillars, right? So now there's far less play. Now I can turn this around and get 2 and 2, so that's 4 millimeters that is taken away in the space. Now for the BRK Ghost, I've noticed that it doesn't quite cut it. There's still a little play, and that's fair enough. I think this Ultrapod was designed with the FX Impact or some like model. So what I'll do really quickly off camera is I'm going to take electrician's tape, that's vinyl tape, and quickly space around this a little bit, wrap the tape around, adding a couple more millimeters of space on the spacer. I'll just snip off the top, and that should make it a lot more snug on the back of the BRK Ghost. Okay, so I have the Ultrapod successfully spaced on the back with vinyl tape, that's electrician's tape. And you have to only really do that with the BRK Ghost or other platforms like that. I think this Ultrapod was designed for FX, so being that this is a BRK Ghost, I just space out with the vinyl tape. So now there's no play in the back and I'm good to go. So how this Ultrapod works is very simple. You can go down by turning clockwise, and counterclockwise brings the elevation up on the unit and thereby moving the barrel down. Okay, the 2 arrows are aligned, so I'm going to show you the gross windage movement that you can do with the Ultrapod. And it's a very simple process. You just turn the wheel there and it will inevitably give you the windage adjustment. Now after a certain point you won't be able to get any more, which I'm doing right now. So it's a pretty nice feature. Now if you want less gross motion on your windage, there's a simple solution to that. Now if you wanted less gross motion, or you wanted to do finer adjustment, especially when you're dealing with distances out to 100 yards, you just simply move this to one side, and then you will be doing finer adjustments. I'll show you right now. So these are your finer adjustments right here. When you move the wheel to one side or the other, you get a lot finer adjustments.
Well, the weather changed and changed for the better in a matter of minutes, which is typical of Florida. But as for the Stud Ultrapod, make sure to go to dlhdev.com. That's the Stud website. If you don't want to type that in, you can just Google Stud or Stud Mag Loader. The Stud stuff is excellent, whether it's the magazines that he makes, the loading solutions that he makes, or the Stud Ultrapod. Really cool stuff. This is ideal for a range bag if you're only shooting to 100 yards. Really nice, lightweight, affordable option for you guys out at the bench. As for the channel, I am going to be coming up with some new content soon, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And more than anything, make sure to comment on the video. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me what you think about the videos. If you have recommendations or criticism, make sure to leave it in the comment section. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.